This video will help you get started on your first GitHub repo and using my repo. This is not a definitive Git video. There are a lot of intricate features of GitHub, but I want to get you started so that you can start learning those. To begin with my example for the first week, you're going to fork and clone my repo. For now, I have created an example repo on my student account, and I'm going to begin by forking this. This is what you would do with one of those videos or one of those repos. I'm going to fork it, and it's going to fork it to your account. At that point in time, you'll end up with a copy of this repo on your GitHub account. Now, at this point in time, you can think of this as two paths diverging. Now your repo and my repo are separate repos. So any changes that you do, you're going to push to your repo, and any changes that I make to my repo will be pushed to my repo. And they don't necessarily have to come back together again, but they certainly can, and we'll do that with a pull request at the end. Now that I have this on my repo, I'm going to go to code, and I'm going to grab the SSH URL. I've copied that, and then from that I'm going to open up my Git terminal or your Git bash on your Windows machine. Once you're here, you want to navigate to the place where you want to keep your Eclipse projects. So if you want to create a new directory or a new folder to create your Java 2 projects, now's the time to do that. Otherwise, you use ls, and this will list whatever is inside of this directory. And you can use cd to change directory. I keep all of my class files inside of the respective folder. So I have a CIS175 folder, 171 plus a GitHub. I list those contents to see what's inside or what's inside of the directory I'm currently in by using ls. CD will change into that directory. So I want this project to go into my 175 directory. If I list this, you can see there are already some other projects in here. So these actually coincide with Eclipse projects. Now I'm getting ready to make an occupations project. I do not have it there. So what I need to do is get the files from my GitHub repo that I have forked onto my computer. And I'm going to use the git clone command. And then I'm going to paste that SSH URL that was provided. Now I have my SSH key set up with a passcode. So I will type in my passcode. And you will see that it is grabbing those objects from the remote, receiving them, compressing them, getting them all ready to go. And now if I list what's inside my 175 folder, I will now see that I have an occupations project inside of there. And if I change into occupations, you'll see there's a source folder inside of there. So now I have this repo and this project on my computer. Now I'm going to go open it up in Eclipse. I go to File, New, Java Project. And instead of picking a project name and using the default location, I'm going to browse for that project that I just downloaded. Here it is, 175, and I'm going to click Open and Finish. It will bring this project into my workspace. Here it is. I can open it up and see what's in here. I am going to make some changes to this project so that we can see them. I have finished making my changes to the project, so I'm going to go back to my terminal, and I am currently inside of my project that I am working on, and I'm going to use git status. And git status will show me that changes that I've made to files that are not staged for commit and untracked files. So these are new files to the project. What I'm going to do is make a commit. You can think of a commit as a way to bring in all the changes that you've made and give them a name, and so that you can track those changes. So I've added two files, and I've modified one that was existing. So what I have to do first is gather all those changes or all those files so that I can make a commit. I'm going to do git add, and then I put in the file name. And this will add my changes so that they can be pushed or so that they can be committed as part of the changes out to GitHub. So I have one file. I've added the one. The greens mean that it's been added or that it's staged, that it's ready to go into a commit. And then I have these two down here that I have not. So I can do that. I can add those files the exact same way. I can use git add and put in the path to the file. If I have a bunch of files that I'm ready to push, I can just do git add period. And this will add all those files that I have to be staged for a commit. There are other flags that you can use with a git add. So like you can add all the files in one directory, for example, or all the files in a subdirectory, or all the files that end with a .html. And you can use Stack Overflow to find out what those commands are so that you don't have to pull them all in there. If you end up with one that you didn't mean to put in there, you use get restore -- staged and the name of the file, and you can move it back out from the staged area by using get status. So you can see that I still have those two files there, but I've moved this change back. So I'm going to go ahead and add it back. But once you add something to be committed, you can always back that out if you didn't mean to add a particular file. Now that I have all my changes or all my files ready in the staging area, I'm ready to make a commit. And a commit essentially rolls all those files together into a ball and puts a nice little tag on them. So I will use get commit -m. Again, there are different flags that you can use for commit to. -m stands for message. And then we open it up into a double quote. And this message is what will appear on our message up here on the files that are changed. And I'll hit enter, and it says I have 3 files changed. And if I do a get status, I'll see that there are no more stages, but I can see that my branch that I'm working on is 1 commit ahead. So that means that there are changes on here that have not yet been put out here, out on the remote. So I'm going, right now that commit is just locally. If I want to push my local commits up to my published or up into my remote, I'm going to use get push. And it will ask me again for my pass key. And I can see now that those have been passed. There's some information there about writing the objects. And you can see that it's taking from main into main. So now if I update this local or the remote repo, you'll see here's my git message, or excuse me, my commit message. Go into my source. I've got where I have added these, and I got the 2 additional files. So that's how I push them out there. Now you can see this branch is 1 commit ahead. So what I need to do is push this back into my into the original. So I'm going to say contribute, and I'm going to open a pull request, and it will look through here and it will see what was the changes. So you can see it'll compare. It will see that the driver and the zookeeper are the 2 new files. So you can see the changes that I have made to the original file. And I'm going to create a pull request. This just is essentially a request that says, hey, will you approve my changes and put them into your master repo? I could put a commit message in here and then create a pull request. Now you can see that this is waiting to be committed or waiting to be accepted inside of the original repo up here. So if I go to the original repo, here I am on the original one, you can see here are my pull requests. And now there's a pull request from me to add in those changes that I've made. As the owner of this repo, the owner of the Kelly DMAC student repo, I would have the task or the job of modifying or accepting this pull request or deciding if I'm going to accept it. If I reject it, you'll get information about why I rejected it. And if it's accepted, you'll get an email that says it's been accepted. So this is one method for using repos on GitHub, forking from a remote repo or another owner's repo into your repo, and then making changes to your repo, and then pushing those changes up to your repo, and then finally doing a pull request back into the original repo.